Hello, my loves. This is Heidi Hancock with your weekly Oracle reading for July 27 to August 2. So with the change of the month, I will be doing the August soul message this week as well, and I'm sure some of these same teachings will come through. So what I started noticing last week, I think I talked about it in last week's Oracle reading, and then it really showed up heavy in Women's Circle last week, which, by the way, if you aren't familiar and you're interested, newcomers are always welcome. They're every Thursdays, and they alternate times between 7 p.m. Pacific time or 11 a.m. Pacific, so that people on the other side of the globe can join. And you can find that on my website under events. So what I started noticing there is, I was talking last week about the yin-yang and the dots in either side of the yin-yang being the guiding force that is necessary for the other side. So if you're looking at the feminine side, the masculine stake in the ground is the guiding force that has to be present in order for that energy to move forward. The feminine has to be the guiding principle, the guiding energy that moves the masculine forward in order for it to be in balance. So if you're all feminine, and this doesn't matter about masculine, feminine, this isn't about gender. You can look at this anywhere on the gender continuum. If you have more masculine, more feminine, whatever is going on. If you're looking at the energy, if you're all feminine without the guiding principle of the masculine as a container to hold it together, you're water that's spilled all over the table and it's not contained, so it can't be used appropriately. If it's all masculine energy, it's all fire, building, moving action, without the guiding principle of the wisdom of the feminine for why you're building. Instead of just looking at the physical, you have to also be tuned into the etheric, what's also going on in the unseen realm. And you have to have the wisdom of that for the balance of those energies to move forward. So what I started noticing last week is this energy of the masculine and feminine both being here. It's like they're guiding forces, and it's like mother's on our left, father's on our right. And, that doesn't have to be physical mother and father. It's mother and father energy. So it's Mother Earth and it's Father Sky. It's feminine, it's masculine, it's lunar, it's solar, right? And those energies, instead of looking out into the world, they're faced towards us. So what's happening is we've got this hyper focus on us from both sides, and it's calling us into balance. And what's happening is, in the center of that, there's a cauldron, and we are in the cauldron and we're cooking. So it's perfect that it's 100 degrees here today, because we are in the kitchen cooking and it is hot. So what's coming up with all that cooking and the purpose for it, the image that I was shown is like we're making bone broth. And with the temperature, we're pulling the bone marrow, what is not us, the programming, what was taught to us about how we were supposed to be, how it was safe or okay to be in the world, is being pulled away from who we really are, which is the bone, right? In the July soul message, I talked about being a hollow bone, which is allowing spirit to move through you without all the personal preferences and the hanging on to of things that we think we are, who we think we are, how we need to show up in the world, all of those things. And so two images really. So we've got the soup cooking, and what is not us is being pulled out of the bone so that we're left with the bone. And eventually, it's not happening quite yet, but the image that I get is after that, there's going to be a colander underneath that allows us to dump all of the stuff that is not us anymore. So we've got the cooking metaphor, and then we also have what came through in Women's Circle last week is it's like a fountain that's moving down, right? So we have the container of the masculine that's here, and then we have the water of the feminine that's coming down it's like coming down through our crown, cleaning out that bone. Like, imagine our body, our physical vessel is that bone. That is the instrument that we use in the world to allow spirit to move through us. So the water is going and hitting all of those heavy, dense parts of ourselves that want to hang on. So we're talking about tectonic plate kind of movement right now, because we've done all the outside little chiselly edges. We're way down in the resin. We're way down in the heavy stuff that doesn't want to move, right? The sediment, the deep stuff, which means that we are in the heart of trigger territory because of that, right? Because we're all kind of clinging to like, this is my idea, this is your idea, which one is right? If I let go of my idea, then I have to see you, then I have to understand you, right? Well, that's exactly what we want to do. We want to let go of our personal preferences about something and actually be able to take in the thoughts and feelings and experience of someone else. So rather than going, oh, you're wrong and that's wrong, like getting curious about it. Why do you think that? Why do you feel that? What's coming up for you personally? What's a direct experience rather than this is how I think and feel? And those triggers are all pointing right back at us, right? Like every time we have one of those triggers, and like I said, we're in tectonic plate territory here. It's really heavy. So when we have a trigger, we have an opportunity to, instead of looking out and who caused the trigger and how can I blame them and how can I get them out of my space so that I don't feel uncomfortable, instead to turn towards and go, what is happening inside of me? Because that's spirit pointing a giant flashlight on that piece that is like, hey, this is your work, go here. It's not about something from the outside. So I'm sure more will be coming up around all of that in the August Soul Message, which I will be doing later this week. So let's see what card comes up around all of this. So I'm asking, what is supportive energy for this week? What more do we need to know about this? What is an anchor that we can use to help us through this process of unfolding, really, and becoming the new version of us, because the old version is on its way out. The offering. Okay, like I say, you cannot make this shit up, okay? So what I get from this right away, and you've got the lunar force, right? So you've got the giving and the receiving. The offering is the giving, and the space here is the receiving. What's going to happen after I give, right? This is changing the perspective. How does someone else feel? What makes them have that idea or that desire or that belief? I'm going to get curious about that, because whatever they say is also happening in me. So how can I hold space, sacred space for, someone else's thoughts and feelings? So this card, the offering, comes from the Wild Unknown Archetypes deck from Kim Kranz. So let's take a peek at this and see what it says. Okay. Excuse me while it takes me a moment to find it. Okay. The gift, the present, the sacrifice. Unlike many of the other cards in the deck, the offering carries a clear as day message and a call to action. As you may have guessed, it is time for something to be given and given up. I mean, this couldn't be more perfect. For the sake of the bigger picture, if nothing comes to mind immediately, though it's likely it will, take time in meditation to consider what must be offered and who is to receive it. It's likely you'll feel attachment and hesitancy. You'll make excuses, but recognize the link between the word sacrifice and the word sacred. One leads to the other, just like the yin yang. When we offer up something to the greater good, we lighten our load and become more able to serve. Imagine for a moment if you were to offer your whole self unconditionally to the world. For now, start small. When light, generosity, donation, volunteering. When dark, giving with expectations, keeping track. Once a week, Gandhi gave up speaking for a day, offering himself to divine silence. The offering can come in all shapes and sizes. If there is a gift you've been thinking of giving someone special, now is the time. So the couple things that I notice from here, it's the giving, it's something to be given and given up. So that is the yin yang, right? That's the balance, the giving and receiving. What can I let go of? And then the other thing that I really noticed was this the piece around sacrifice and the word sacred, right? When we come together in group, this is what we focus on in Women's Circle, is creating sacred space for active listening of other people. If we can do that, if we can actively listen and be really focused on what someone else is saying, it's a way of training our mind to actively listen to ourselves. So when we're listening to someone else, we're training ourselves to go, oh, okay, what's happening inside of me that's related to what they're saying? So that's really beautiful, the offering. This was my word for last year. So anyways, I'll show it one more time. That's really beautiful. So stay tuned for the August soul message. I wish you well. And this week, really focusing on this sense of active listening. What can I offer instead of what can I receive? And then the receiving comes out of that, right? And it can make us so vulnerable when we go to the point of offering, because then we're at risk or in the face of potential rejection, right? And so, but you'll never know what you might receive if you aren't willing to first offer it. So I wish you well. That's it for this week. I'm Heidi Hancock, and namaste. See you next week.